Obviously a very good win. Sometimes, I think the score maybe doesn't dictate exactly how the game was. I'm not saying it doesn't. I just think that, I guess me, myself, walking off there, I don't know that I felt as good as what the score looks like. We pride ourselves and we try to say, hey, this team's going to be about finishing. And that's the one thing that kind of sticks in my head right now coming out the second half. I don't know that we did a great job at finishing, and I'm not pointing a finger at any one side of the ball or anything like that. The reality is, this is a team that got to play together. And I know we're still growing. I keep saying that over and over every week. It's a reality. That we're going to continue to grow. This was an opportunity for us to grow a little bit more too. That we have not been in that situation, probably where we've been up and got to handle that, come out the second half, and maybe adjust a little bit in the way that we're playing, but still, play to our style. And so I think it's going to be a good learning opportunity for us. It's a good football team, that still is a very good win. But I think as I stand here, it's the same things, just the ability to play clean with some of those penalties and the ability to just kind of finish things the second half. With that being said, there's a lot of there's some really good play defensively. Obviously with some penalties and then overcoming the penalties, and then the same thing offensively. Ben Bryant played his butt off. Tyler Scott had 3 touchdowns in the first half. And there's some really, really great things that are going to give us a chance to win a lot of football games. But there's some things that kind of stand out in my mind that we got to do better.
Questions for Coach?
Is it more frustrating just because of working to play clean? You had that clean first half, and then the second half you weren't able to repeat it?
Yeah, I think that is. And you can't be overly greedy like I am sometimes, but the reality, that you got to be able to come out and finish things off. And twofold, you got to be able to run the football, and then you got to be able to play clean defensively. Now I know there's 66 throws. There's going to be, you play as much man coverage as we do. You play as much on body coverage. There's going to be some of those things. So I do believe that it's going to help us really grow. I think there's some young guys that maybe got in that situation that got a bunch of penalties. That maybe it was their first real opportunity to play. And Justin is the guy I'm talking about, but you know what? He didn't panic. He kept continuing to play. And I think it's going to be a really big learning experience and growth because we're going to need him down the stretch.
Did you feel the second half, was it adjustments on their end? Was it things on your side?
I think they did a good job. I think they did a good job adjusting. I think that they came out the second half and said, we're going to challenge you. If you want to still throw the football, we're going to load the box, lock the guys up outside, and see if you're going to be willing to keep slinging it around while we throw the ball 66 times. And and we did not do a good enough job at kind of run the football. And then you get into that position where you got a head coach kind of handcuffing you a little bit, and it's probably not fair to the offensive guys at times. But you know what? When it comes down to it, you got to find a way to win a football game. And I think that I got to look at myself in some of those situations. But we got to do a better job.
104 plays for them. Is that a little more than you would like?
It's a lot more than I would like. I don't know what it was in the first half and second half. But like you said, would you have any other way? If you're going to get a win, you're going to get a win. But that's why I think we played 28 guys on defense. And I think that's really going to help us in the long run. It's great to have Don Perry back. That we got a little bit thin, the D-line, and he got back here for the first week and goes in here and plays a lot of snaps for us, gets a turnover, scores a touchdown. So, like I said, there's a lot of young guys that got a lot of action today because of the 104 snaps, especially on defense.
I know you wanted to finish better, Luke, as you said, but just how satisfying is it to be the Big Ten opponent by 21 points?
I don't know that we look at it like that. It's for us, it's another opponent. It's an undefeated 3-0 opponent that has a good football team, and it's another opportunity for us to play in front of this crowd. Another opportunity for us to continue the little streak that we have here at home and protect our house. I think we look at those things before we look at anything else, and we'll let everybody else on the outside kind of talk about that. But as we've said since we've been here, there's no difference between us and the guys in the Big Ten or the ACC or the Big 12 that we'll be going to the following year. We got an expectation, and in some ways we expect to play a little bit better.
Does it feel like last year at all, where you have a pretty comfortable win, but you come off maybe not?
Maybe that's just me. There's things that just stand out. I screwed up, in the fourth down play that we were not going to snap the ball. I should not have put us in that situation. That was poor on my part. If I had it back, I would really take that one back again. Should have put him in that situation. And those kinds of things can cost you. And maybe you put a little bit of handcuffs on the guys, offensively to start the second half or in the second half that it might not be the best thing for us in our program and team. So there's a lot of things I got to do better, and it's going to start there.
I believe you mentioned this week about you've been urging Ben to take some more chances, get the ball into that second level. I'm sure you're pleased with what he did in the first half, being aggressive.
Really am. I mean, he is aggressive. He is doing a really good job. He's the thing that's so. I know Tyler had a bunch or 3 touchdowns, but he moves the ball around. He's going to take what's given to him, and that's where you're seeing the confidence in everybody. It does wonders for the locker room too. Let me tell you. When a guy can spread the ball around, and I know for a defense it makes it much more difficult too. If they don't know that there's we can just kind of focus in on Tyler Scott, and then all of a sudden you got 2 big tight ends that can do it too, and you got Trey Tucker and Nick Barber thrown in there as well. So there's still things we got to grow to. We're going to continue to focus on Ben's strengths, but our offense is what we got to make sure we've got enough balance if we're going to win a championship.
Tyler had moments last year. Did you see a season like this coming from him?
You know what? In some ways, yes. I mean, up through halfway through last year, I still kept talking about if he dropped the ball, he was going to move the corner. I think by the end of the year last year, that became a little bit of a joke. I don't know why they would think it was a joke. Still, I guess could if we wanted to, but I think now, I think everybody would look at it as a joke. So I think he's pretty safe and stable in the wide receiver spot.
How valuable was it to get Justin Harris snaps? Well, you forced to get in there, but him and J.Q. Hardaway, other guys.
It was really valuable. I think those guys did a really good job, and that's why in those situations it's still a game. Like some people might look at it and say, "Well, it's not much of it." They're just slinging the ball. No, that's incredible work for a lot of young guys. And I didn't say we were perfect. Obviously, Justin got three pass interference calls and overly aggressive in some of them. And I think but I do believe they probably all were penalties. And it's not like I could stand here and tell you that it wasn't a penalty. The reality is those are penalties, and we'll get better at them. But I think it's it's going to be a real big growing experience for a lot of those guys. I know Justin's the guy we're talking about, but Don Perry hadn't played a lot of football, for us, and he played a lot. And I think those things are really what's going to help us in the long run.
The O-line seemed to give Ben a lot of time in the passing game. So what was going in the running game was.
I thought they did. I think they did a really good job. They jumped into some of the Bear stuff that makes it a little bit more difficult on you to run the football. In particular, the second half they loaded up, and they got some big guys up front. I mean, we got to find ways to create movement, create some seams. We got to get Chuck, we got to get Corey, and some of those guys better opportunities to get to the second level. That was a big deal to us. Finding ways to create big plays and getting those guys to the second level. And today we didn't really give them an opportunity to get to the second level.
Is that maybe one area where not having Jake and having to kind of have shifted things around, where maybe the run game is a little bit slow?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, we've got what we got, but we're not going to make excuses for anything. I mean, I think what we got to do is we got to get better. We got to get better in defense and not, the penalties and things like that, but still being aggressive. We got to get better at finding ways to run the football, move people up front. But that's a part of getting better. And, if you don't have balance on both sides, if you don't have balance offensively to run and throw, if you don't have balance defensively for us to play man, to play zone, and to be able to pressure, then in the long run it's going to be tough. And so I think as a team, we know we got to continue to find balance in all that we're doing.
Brian Threads had a big day today. How do you like his progression at that position?
He did. He had a big pick. He had some really, I don't know how many tackles he had. There's another guy that I think probably maybe didn't stand out as much with some of the things penalties wise, but the game was really fast, and I think a little bit of the youth of him showed a little bit. But he's such a dynamic playmaker and a guy that plays so hard that he overcomes some of those things. Because of his ability to run, his ability to hit, his ability to be so aggressive. There's another young guy. I know he's been starting, but a young guy that's going to, I think, from this experience, especially today, is going to grow a lot more.
Was today maybe a turning point for Aaron Phillips moving into that starting role for Malik?
It was another opportunity. I mean, obviously as many snaps as we had today, but we envisioned him even through camp as a starter. I know there's only 3 guys up there half the time, and most of the time. But even before Malik was out, he was one of those guys we envisioned, or I envisioned as we got 4, maybe 5 stars in the defensive line. As Dante grew, I said, oh shoot, I think we might have 6, and so he obviously had to step up. I think he's done a really, really good job, and we're going to rely on him.
I know you talk about Ivan Pace a lot. Just feels like he's a game wrecker out there. How much of a weapon does he become for your defense?
He's doing a great job. I don't even notice it. You know, sometimes they tell me afterwards, I think he might end up with 15 tackles or 5 tackles for law. He is he's a fireball. I mean, he goes and goes and goes. And I think we're going to continue to use him in different ways, but find ways that we can kind of let him go. And I think that's where he's really dynamic. We're glad we got him. The unique thing is not, he now fits, and I don't mean in the scheme of what we do, he fits so well with the guys in that locker room. We brought him up there afterwards. He's not a real talker. So he gave me the little message, and I relayed it to the team. But I know he cares a lot. I know this means a lot to him.
Coach, your rush defense holds another team low explosives 2 on the day, just 1.8 yards per carry. What was working so well for that front 4?
Well, the only one I remember is the one we spun out and they bounced over the edge. So I'm glad you told me that, because that makes me feel a little bit better. Because for some reason I just remember those bad ones. They're a physical group, and I think they played physical today. We'll find out a little bit more, especially next week. We haven't fared real well in the rush game against Tulsa the last couple of years, so I'll kind of throw that compliment out the door a little bit and say, hey, we'll be tested even more next week, but we got to continue to grow.
They
One more for
they don't
Coach.
run it anymore.
They don't run anymore.
Nope.
They will.
Like 6 passes a game.
Thank you. We'll have,